Hello. Good morning, Vernes, and good morning, Sir Robles. I am Carol E. Destimio from BSBA Financial Management 1A, scheduled every Tuesday and Thursday. In this discussion, you will know how the T accounts work and how we record transactions using T accounts. So let's start. So our lesson for today is all about basic accounting tutorial using T accounts. Lesson objectives. At the end of the discussion, the student should be able to know the basic accounting equation, the T accounts, the double entry system, normal balance of accounts, and recording transaction using T accounts. So, what is basic accounting equation? The accounting equation is considered to be the foundation of the double entry accounting system. The accounting equation shows on a company balance sheet whereby the total of all company's assets equals to the sum of company's liabilities and owner's equity. So, sinasabi dito na ang basic accounting equation ay isa sa foundation ng double entry accounting system at hindi lang sa double entry kundi rin para magkaroon ng mas malinaw at mas madali na pagkakaintindi sa accounting, because if you don't know the basic accounting, you will having a hard time on understanding it, especially to the more accounting problems or more accounting related subject. You will use this basic accounting equation to your future accounting subject. So, what is the equation? The equation is asset is equal to liabilities plus owner's equity. So, before we discuss this basic equation, let's define first the elements of accounting equation. First is asset. Assets are the total of your cash, the items that you have purchased, and any money that your customers owes you. So, dito sa asset, ito yung mga ari-arian mo, yung mga example. For example, your cash, building, land, supplies, ari-arian ng business at iba pa. Next, liabilities. Liabilities, it refers to the company's debts and financially measurable obligations. So, what this obligation? This obligation means is yung mga utang, accounts payable, notes payable, and unearned income, and others payables in your business. And last is owner's equity. Owner's equity is defined as the proportion of the total value of a company's assets that can be claimed by its owner. So, sa madaling salita, ito yung capital or the investment of the owners in the business. Yun lang yun, sa madaling salita. And as in this equity, there are four elements that affects equity. First is the capital. The fund investment by the owner in the business or the net amount claimable by the owners from the business. Second is the withdrawal. Withdrawal or owner's withdrawals are payments from an owner's shares in a company. In other words, it is money the owner took out of the company to use personal expenses. Ito yung gaya ng na-encounter natin sa transaction. Ito yung mga kinukuha ng owners for their personal users. Kinukuha nilang money for their personal use. And then third is revenue. The money that is produced by carrying out normal business operation and is calculated by multiplying the average sales price by the number of items sold. It is the total sum of money from which other costs and expenses are subtracted to calculate net income. Ang mga revenue is, ito yung nakukuha nyo from services. Ito yung cash na natatanggap nyo pag nagbigay kayo ng services. And last, of course, the expenses. An expenses is the cost of operation that a company incurs to generate revenue. Ito yung mga nagastos nyo sa company or sa business operation. So, mabalik tayo sa accounting equation. Again, the accounting equation is asset is equal to liabilities plus owner's equities. So, in this accounting equation, it shows the balance between the total asset of the business in relation to the liabilities and investment of the owner to the business, because asset is always equal to the liabilities and owner's equities. Isa rin sa nakikita dito sa equation na ito ay yung how asset are being funded. Pag sinabi nating funded, it means how the company acquire asset in the business. Like, it can be possible through loans, or it can be possible in investment of the owner. Like, for example, the owner gives personal money, personal equipment, personal properties in the business. So, ito yung tinatawag ng investment. Also, the third is claims of the creditors and owners to the asset of the business. Yung claims na sinasabi dito ay yung kung ilan ba yung makukuha ng creditors at owner's equity sa total ng asset. Like, for example, you have a total asset of 300 pesos and your liabilities is 20 pesos and your owner's equity is 80 pesos. So, to explain it, the 20% of the assets are through liabilities and the 80% is through investment or to the owners. Yun. So, sa accounting na ito, madali lang siyang intindihin basta alam mo kung ano yung asset, alam mo kung ano yung liabilities, at ano yung owner's equity. So in the presentation, I will give a example of basic accounting equation problem. Example number 1. The Stimul Laundry Services has asset of 680,000 pesos and owner's equity of 375,000 pesos. So, makikita niyo sa problem na meron lang tayo ng asset and owner's equity. So, anong nawawalang element? It is liabilities. So, for the equation of liabilities, it is liabilities is equal to asset minus owner's equity. So, what is our asset again? It is 680,000 pesos. And our owner's equity is 375,000 pesos. So, what we're gonna do is we will minus them to get our liabilities. So, when we minus this asset and owner's equity, the liabilities is 305,000 pesos. For the example number 2, Mr. Lee's shop has liabilities of 783,500 and owner's equity of 425,000. So, in this example number 2, meron lang siyang liabilities and owner's equity. So, anong nawawala ng element? So, it is asset. So, ang gagamitin nating equation is asset is equal to liabilities plus owner's equity. If hinahanap natin ang asset, always plus. ipa-plus natin ang liabilities at owner's equities. So, what is our liabilities here? Our liabilities is 783,500 and our owner's equity is 425,000. So, what we're gonna do, we will plus them. We will add them together. So, our asset will be 1,208,500 pesos. That's our asset for Mr. Lee shop. Okay, the last example is number 3. Ethan Lee Dance Studio has asset of 634,650 and liabilities of 250,000 pesos. So, what is our equation here? Our equation is owner's equity is equal to asset minus liability. So, napansin nyo naman na owner's equity naman ang nawala dito sa problem na ito. So, this one. Yan ang ating equation for this problem. So, ang ating asset is 634,650 and ang ating liabilities is 250,000. So, ang gagawin natin din dito, pag owner's equity ang hinahanap, ima-minus din natin yung asset sa liabilities. So, the total equity, owner's equity is 384,650 pesos. Yun ang kanyang owner's equity. So, after we tackle about basic accounting equation, we will go now to the T account. What is T account? T account is a visual representation of an account to think through the journal entries for recording transactions. The T account is the simplest tool used to analyze the effect of the transaction on each account. Hence, it has two sides. On the left side, it is debit, and on the right side, it is credit. Also, it's called T account because it's look like a letter T, and with this T account, we can easily distinguish between all the debits and credits that impact it. T account is that saled record of the increases, decreases, and the balance of each element that appears in the entity's financial statement. And in this T account, it consists of three parts, which are the account titles, the debit, and the credit. So, the account title is what accounts are affected in the transaction. Isusulat mo yung account title sa taas. Itong account title, ito yung mga affected, kunwari, sa isang transaction, ang affected na accounts title is salaries, expense, and cash. Yun yung tinatawag nating accounts title. Also, in the T accounts, there are debit and credit. The debit, it is an accounting entry that either increase an asset or expense account or decreases a liabilities or equity account. And the credit, it is an accounting entry that either increases a liability or equity account or decreases an asset or expenses account. So, always remember this debit and credit. There is only one definition of it. The debit is the left side of T account and the credit is the right side of the T account. Some students think that debit is always plus and credit is always minus. But that's wrong because hindi lahat ng nasa debit ay dapat plus. And hindi lahat ng nasa credit ay laging minus. Nakadepende pa rin ito sa transaction and doon sa accounts title. So, be careful with that. So, our next topic will be double entry system because double entry system is connected to the T account. Double entry system. The double entry system is a system that records every business transaction into the two separate ledger accounts with the same amount. One account is debited while the other account is credited with the same amount. So, this double entry system means that the dual effects of business transactions is recorded. So, makikita nyo dito sa picture. As you can see in the picture that double entry system where the double entry system merong debit and credit. So, in the debit, it is the one who receive and the credit is the one who giving. So, sinabi nga kanina sa explanation that debit and credit should have the same value or the same amount. Like in this double entry, the debit entry must have corresponding credit side of the entry. And in every transaction, there must be one or more amount of debited and one or more credited. In every transaction, should at least affect two accounts. Dito lang naman sa double entry system, ang sinasabi lang dito at ipinaparating na sa bawat transaction, hindi lang iisa ang naapektuhan na accounts, kundi two or more. And dapat dito sa double entry system, the total of debit should always equal to the total of credits. With these two effects, with these two affect accounts with the same total is what you call double entry system. So, yun nga, sabi ko kanina na dapat yung dalawang accounts na affected is dapat same sila ng value even though they are credited or debited. And to better understand the double entry system, let's try this given example. Example number 1. Paid salary for month of 51,000 pesos. So, let's analyze this transaction. So, nagbayad ka ng salaries mo worth of 15,000. So, anong accounts ang naapektuhan? If you're familiar with accounts, madali mo tong yung mga accounts title, madali mong ma-identify kung ano ba yung mga naka-affect. So, ang naapektuhan na accounts dito are the salaries expense and the cash because yung salaries mo tumaas dahil nagbayad ka and yung cash mo nabawasan dahil nagbayad ka nga ng salaries. So, saan natin ilalagay ang salary expense? It is debit or credit? It should be debit kasi nadagdagan yung expenses mo. And while the cash, ilalagay naman natin siya sa credit dahil nabawasan yung cash dahil nagbayad ka. Ganun lang kasimple. That's the double entry system. Two affecting accounts with the same amount. That's it. So our next topic is normal balance of account. What is normal balance of account? A normal balance is the accounting classification of an account. It is part of double entry bookkeeping technique. An account has either credit or debit normal balance to increase the value of an account. With normal balance of credit, one would credit the account. So, this normal balance, you should master this rules of debit and credit because it's a big help when you are recording, and understanding normal balance and its position in double entry accounting can help support good accounting practices in your business. And this normal balance is what we use in T accounts. Itong normal balance na to is napakahalaga sa T accounts because this is what we use when we do debit and credit. So you can see naman sa account, you can see on the pictures that the normal balance of an asset is debit because it increased, and the normal balance of expenses is debit. Also in owner's drawing, it is debit. While on the liabilities, the normal balance is credit. The revenue is credit. Also in owner's capital, the credit. For you to remember this normal balance, there's a simple word that you can remember, and it is dealer. The D is for debit, the L is for credit. What is D means? The D means drawings or withdrawals. E means expense, and A means asset. So these three elements, their normal balance is debit because they increase. So, while on the credit side, it's liabilities, which is L, E for equity, and R for revenue. And yung normal balance naman nila is credit, which they are increased on that side. So always remember the dealer. So you can easily answer the normal balance when you are doing a transaction, doing T accounts like that. And after we learn the basic accounting equation, the T accounts, double entry system, and the normal balance of accounts, we are now ready to record a transaction using the T account. Now, we will record transaction using T account. For this transaction, Leon Zamora, tax consultant, began his practice on October 1st, 2022. The transactions of the film are as follows. On October 1, Zamora invested 160,000 pesos in the film. So, sinasabi noong October 1 daw, nag-invest ang owner ng 160 sa business. So, let's analyze the account. Ang gagawin natin is, hahanapin natin yung affected account. So, ano bang affected account sa transaction ito? So, ang affected na account is cash and capital. Since nagbigay or nag-invest ang owners ng 160,000 pesos sa business, so nadagdagan ng ating cash. Ganon din ang ating capital. So, i-record natin siya sa cash as debit worth of 160,000 pesos, at i-record din natin siya sa Zamora's capital worth of 160,000 pesos sa credit. Next. On October 2, paid rent for October Gallego Realty worth of 8,000. So, according sa transaction ng October 2, yung business daw ay nagbayad ng renta kay Gallego Realty worth of 8,000 pesos. So, analyze natin ulit. Ang asset ba ay nadagdagan or nabawasan? Siyempre, nabawasan. So, anong account title ang nabawasan? Yung cash. Dahil nagbayad nga tayo. Pag nabawasan ng cash, ilalagay natin siya sa credit. Okay? Ano naman ang isang account pang affected ng transaction? Ito ay yung rent expense. At kapag naman ang expense ay nadagdagan, ire-record natin sa debit. Lagi siya sa debit. So, ang cash ay nasa credit worth of 8,000 at ang rent expense ay nasa debit worth of 8,000. Next. On October 2, purchase supplies on account worth of 7,300 pesos. So, sabi doon sa October 12, nag-purchase ka ng supply pero utang na nagkakahalaga ng 7,300. So, analyze natin to. Sa asset ba may nabawasan or nadagdagan? Nadagdagan. So, aling asset natin siya ilalagay? Ilalagay natin siya sa supplies. And then, since nadagdagan ng supplies natin, ire-record natin siya sa debit worth of 7,300. Next is sa liabilities. Meron bang effect sa liabilities? Meron. Dahil nag-increase. Dahil nga umutang tayo ng supply, so ire-record natin ito sa accounts payable as credit. Okay, so accounts payable worth of 7,300 pesos on credit. Sa equity naman, wala tong effect. So next. On October 3, acquired 76,000 pesos of the office equipment, paying 36,000 down with the balance due in 30 days. So, analyze natin. So, sinasabi dito na nag-acquire daw o namili ng office equipment worth of 76,000. So, dito muna tayo. Since nag-acquire ka ng office equipment, nadagdagan ng asset natin, which is the office equipment. So, i-debit natin doon. So, ang ilalagay natin sa office equipment is 76,000 pesos sa debit since nadagdagan. Then, next is, sabi doon din ay paying 36,000 down. So, dito, nagbayad tayo ng cash worth of 36 pesos. So, since nabawasan yung cash natin, i-credit naman natin ngayon siya sa cash. So credited amount of 36,000 pesos. So, yon. Okay. Sa last naman is, sabi doon, the last balance due in 30 days. So, ibig sabihin, may kalahati ka pang balance. So, yung kalahating yun ay utang muna. So, ang ilalagay naman natin yun ay sa accounts payable. Ilalagay natin siya sa accounts payable sa credit because nag-increase yung liabilities natin. So, ilalagay natin doon yung 40,000 pesos. Next is October 8. October 8 paid 7,300 on account for supply purchase. So, analyze ulit natin itong transaction. So, noong October 8 daw, nagbayad daw doon ng supply na pinurchase mo. Kung natatandaan mo pa yung sa October 2, which is nag-purchase ka ng supply on account. So, ngayon, dito sa October 8, magbabayad na tayo. So, let's analyze it. So, sa asset ba may nabawasan or may nadagdagan? May nabawasan kasi nga nagbayad ka. So, ilalagay natin siya sa cash on credit because nabawasan tayo ng 7,300 pesos. So, ilalagay natin siya sa credit. Then, ano yung isang affected account? So, since nagbayad na tayo, mababawasan rin yung accounts payable natin. So, i-debit naman natin ngayon yung 7,300 pesos. Next. On October 15, paid assistant salaries for 2 weeks worth of 6,000 pesos. So, sinasabi dito na yung business daw ay nagpasahod worth of 6,000. So, anong account ang affected? Since nagpasweldo tayo, ang business ay mababawasan. Ang business ay mababawasan ng asset, which is the cash. So, ilalagay natin yung 6,000 pesos sa cash on credit since nabawasan nga, nagpasahod tayo. And then, yung isang account na affected is yung salaries expense. Since nagpasahod nga tayo, madadagdagan yung salaries expense natin. So, ilalagay natin siya sa debit. Ang mga expense are always on debit. So, always remember that. Next. On October 21, perform consulting services for cash worth of 15,000 pesos. So, dito sa transaction on October 21, nagsasabi na nag-render daw tayo ng services and nagbayad daw yung customer ng cash worth of 15,000. So, anong nangyari? Yung asset ba natin nadagdagan, nabawasan? Nadagdagan kasi nga yung customer natin nagbayad siya ng cash. So, ilalagay natin siya sa cash as debit. Kasi nga nadagdagan. So, ilalagay natin yung 15,000 pesos sa debit. And then, ano yung isang account na affected? Since nag-perform tayo ng services, maapektuhan nito yung ating consulting revenues. Since nag-perform tayo ng services, so, madadagdagan yung consulting revenue natin or yung income. So, ilalagay natin yung 15,000 sa credit because nag-increase nga. Always, pag revenues, always increase. Always on credit, increase. Next. On October 28, paid assistant salaries for 2 weeks worth of 6,000 pesos. So, nagbayad na naman ang owner ng salaries employee. So, ang gagawin natin, i-analyze natin. So, ang sabi dito, nagbayad ka. So, anong accounts ang affected? Ito yung cash and salaries expense. So, i-record natin siya sa cash. Since nagbayad tayo, mababawasan yung pera natin. So, i-credit natin. I-credit natin yung 6,000 pesos. And then, since may nagkaroon tayo ng expenses, ilalagay uli natin siya sa salaries expense sa debit. Since nag-increase yung salaries mo, i-debit natin. So, ang debit natin is 6,000 pesos. Next. On October 30, billed clients for October for consulting services worth of 45,000 pesos. So, dito sa transaction na ito, sinasabi na nag-build ka ng services sa customer worth of 45,000 pesos. So, anong affected? So, since nag-build ka, so may matatanggap kang accounts receivable at may matatanggap ka ring income. Kahit hindi pa nagbabayad yung customer, may matatanggap ka ring income. So, i-record natin yun sa accounts receivable as debit because nag-increase nga. Pag nag-increase ang asset natin, lagi natin siyang i-debit. So, i-debit natin yung 45,000 pesos sa accounts receivable. And then, since nag-build ka rin ng services, ilalagay natin siya sa consulting revenues. On credit, since nadagdagan rin yung revenues mo, and then yung lagi niyong tandaan na pag revenues, lagi siyang on credit, increasing, plus. So, ilalagay natin yung 45,000 pesos sa credit sa consulting revenues. On the last transaction, Zamora withdraw 15,000 from the business. So, analyze natin. So, sabi, yung owner daw, si Zamora, nag-withdraw siya ng 15,000 from the business. So, ano yung affected na accounts? It is cash and withdrawal. So, ano mangyayari sa cash? Yung cash natin ay mababawasan, so i-credit natin. I-credit natin yung 15,000 pesos. And then, matik na sa withdrawals, i-debit natin kasi nadagdagan yung withdrawals natin worth of 15,000 pesos. So, ganun lang kasimple ang paggamit ng T-account sa isang transaction. Basta't alam mo kung ano ang normal balance ng mga accounts, kung alam mo kung ano yung debit and credit, kung alam mo kung ano yung mga title accounts na affected, madali na lang sa'yo na malaman kung ano ba yung mga dapat i-record sa transaction. So, I hope may natutunan kayo sa aking discussion and thank you for listening.